If you're wanting to know how to get to Greece solo during the pandemic, well then stay tuned because I'm going to tell you how I did it last year in 2021.
Why would you want to miss out on traveling solo to Greece in 2022? Hi there, I'm Gwen Corey with CORRtravel, the site to help those over 50 stay adventurous through solo travel. And I've been traveling solo for over 26 years and still loving it. And if you're wanting to go to Greece this year, you're in the right place because I was just in Greece in September of last year. And in this video, I've got 7 must-know pandemic travel planning tips for you. In addition to this video, I'm also providing you links to my Greece travel guide, COVID and eco travel tips, and other links I use to get to Greece, which I'll cover in this video. If you're new to CORRtravel and want to hear how I traveled solo to other European countries last year during the pandemic, or want access to great travel itineraries and solo travel tips, or more, go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell below to get notified when new videos are posted on CORRtravel for your solo travel needs. So let's not wait any longer. Let's jump into my 7 do not miss tips to use for planning your solo trip to Greece in 2022 during the pandemic. Tip number 1, be fully vaccinated. And if you're not, you may want to reconsider going to Greece this year. Despite the obvious reasons of protecting yourself and others, let's talk about travel feasibility. When I went to Greece last year, Greece was allowing people unvaccinated to enter with a negative COVID test. And at the time of making this video, it still seems to hold true. Now, even though Greece is now also making vaccinated persons pass a COVID test before entering, I didn't have to last year. So stay informed because Greece could remove this testing requirement for vaccinated travelers before removing it for unvaccinated travelers. Plus, you never know if things could change. There could be a new COVID variant pop up, or your country could become classified as a high-risk country, where Greece could decide to let only those vaccinated enter, or make those unvaccinated quarantine even if they did pass a COVID test, like the Netherlands recently did. So being fully vaccinated is not only safer, it makes travel easier and less expensive. And confirm your vaccination type and dates adhere to Greece's entry rules. I'll cover how to find this out in tip number 3. Also, make sure you have the correct documentation to prove your vaccination. If you're from the EU, you're all good with your EU digital COVID certificate. And if you're from the US, don't stress. All I used for Greece was my white hard copy CDC card that showed my name, dates of all vaccinations, and the type of vaccination I received, like Moderna, Pfizer, or Johnson & Johnson. Also, consider when to go. Avoid going in the high summer season, June through August, if you can. Remember what happened last summer? Many countries were on lockdown for so long that when the travel restrictions lifted right before summer, which is probably what's going to happen again this year, many European cities were so inundated with tourists dying to get out and travel, it caused many hotels to sell out, and cities were overcrowded. Keep in mind that it's not just people from your country wanting to get out and travel again. People from practically all countries are wanting to get out and travel again. And everyone is dealing with their own set of travel restrictions dictating where they can and can't go. Plus, top locations will just be crowded in general, and prices are always higher in the summer anyway. I recommend going to Greece either by May or after the summer months. Tip number 3, know Greece's COVID rules. As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And this is very true when it comes to navigating the COVID travel rules for Greece, or anywhere in Europe for that matter. Researching country COVID restrictions and rules initially consumed half of my time planning for the 7 countries I visited last year. Once I figured out where to find information though, That time scaled back considerably. And my 2021 research is going to help you save time this year. I ultimately narrowed my focus down to 4 websites: United Airlines and Ryanair's travel restriction pages, the U.S. Embassy in Greece website, and the Schengen news site. All of these links I'm providing you below. Why these 4 sites? Well, I had already found the necessary COVID travel information through Greece's websites before the airlines started posting their own travel restriction pages. So when I saw the same information on the airline sites, I knew they were good to use going forward, including for accessing any testing and/or quarantine information, and getting access to Greece's passenger locator form that needed to be completed prior to boarding my flight to Greece. And United Airlines map is even more robust now than it was when I used it for planning. So this is a bonus for you. Although I normally consult my country's embassy websites for pertinent safety information first as a solo traveler, as time passed, I was finding that the Schengen news was providing more accurate and up-to-date information on travel restrictions and COVID updates, like COVID infection rates, within Europe, which was conflicting with what the US was reporting. So for planning purposes and while traveling, I continually checked the Schengen news site first, and then used the US Embassy site only to back up what was being posted on the airline websites. Now, I'm not telling you to ignore your country embassy's information. However, if I had only used the US's information and not the Schengen news, I would have ended up staying home in 2021 and missing out on a great solo trip to Greece. So, just some food for thought. This leads me to tip number 4 and the saying, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Book your airline tickets well in advance. I cannot stress this enough. So if you haven't booked already, book now. Why? Choices. Airlines have drastically reduced the number of operating flights, so this gives you even less dates and times to choose from than normal. Also, airlines are doing what they have to do to stay in business during COVID, and you need to be able to roll with the punches. I can't tell you how many flights got changed on me during 2021. So be flexible with your flights. Add an additional layover time and don't book any job commitments or other travel arrangements close to your flight arrival or departure dates. The more buffer you give yourself, the less stress you will have. Trust me. Use your airline miles when booking. Due to new strains of COVID causing constant country entry rule changes last year, I had to change my outbound flight to Europe 3 times. By using my airline miles, my mileage account was immediately refilled when I canceled my ticket, so I could turn around and buy a new ticket right then. If you don't have airline miles, check first to see whether you'll get a refund or travel voucher from the airline should you need to change or cancel your flight. By now you're probably wondering, Gwen, if I'm looking at possible changes or cancellations, why should I book now? Prices. Airlines are more than likely going to need to increase ticket prices just to make up for all the recent flight cancellations. So it's a good bet that airline flights to, from, and within Greece are going to be at their least expensive the earlier in 2022 you book, and with prices just getting higher as the weeks tick by. And as more travel restrictions lift, so will ticket prices. Last, with fewer flights already, they're more apt to sell out. Don't assume that with less travel restrictions means more flights. Remember how companies have been having staffing shortages? Remember always that these are not normal travel times. So until COVID is no longer a consideration, plan for the worst. And if you've already booked and there is a change, the airline will at least put you on a different flight so you will have a seat. Remember, you've built in that flexibility in your schedule to allow for this, so you should have no worries. And here's a little eco tip. If you need to travel between cities or islands in Greece that only have a short 2 to 3 hour travel time duration, book a train, bus, or a ferry instead of flying. Not only could it save you time from airport security or save money on checked baggage fees, it's also a lot prettier form of travel. Plus, Many EU countries are trying to reduce or ban short-distance flights to fight climate change, so this is a good habit to get into. What goes for tip number 4 goes for tip number 5. Like airline availability, hotels, hostels, and the like will also fill up quickly, especially if you go in the summer season. And this will also drive up prices. Reserve now and make sure you reserve with a 100% free cancellation option as close to your check-in date as possible. Yes, this could slightly increase your costs, but it's worth the peace of mind in case you have to cancel. Like I had to do. Just 4 days before my departure to the Netherlands decided to make vaccinated Americans quarantine for a minimum of 5 days, and that completely wiped out my entire itinerary for the Netherlands. Although I was bummed, I was completely stoked to save hundreds of dollars with my free cancellation policy. Also, don't be afraid to communicate with your hotel or hostel beforehand. I emailed mine often to check up on any local COVID restriction updates or dining and activity tips that they may have had, and they were all super helpful. Your hotel is going to want to make sure you have the best travel experience in Greece, so let them help you. Tip number 6, know the local COVID rules. It's possible cities or establishments in Greece may have additional or specific COVID restrictions to adhere to. There may be specific type of mask requirements or mask requirements on public transportation or in hotels or restaurants. There may also be limited operation times or curfews for local establishments. The same goes for destination and connecting airports and airlines. For example, I didn't stay in Austria last year, but I had to fly through the Vienna airport, and the Vienna airport required N95 masks at all times. So make sure you check and pack accordingly. Use the airline links I provide below or your booked airlines websites, so you can go a little bit further on some research as to the do's and don'ts of traveling within Greece. And again, contact your hotel for tips or check out a city or island's official tourism website. It is a great way to get to know the local information or knowing if an attraction is closed due to COVID. Last, be kind to the locals and all those working the transportation systems. It's not their fault if something gets canceled or delayed due to COVID. They're dealing with the same obstacles just like everyone else. This brings me to my last big tip on travel and health insurance and COVID testing. Is it really necessary to buy travel and health insurance for your trip just because of COVID? Well, first, make sure you check to see what type of requirement for entry to Greece is. And at the time of this video, health insurance is not required to enter Greece. And this hasn't changed since last year. Traveling with insurance is always nice to have to cover any emergencies on your solo travel. In fact, I did get such insurance for my entire Europe trip last year. And I never used it, and I didn't contract COVID. Still, it was a nice backup. I'll leave it to you and your discretion on whether to purchase it or not. I've provided you a link below to the service I used. And as for COVID testing, first check the airline websites to see what type of COVID test is required for entry to Greece and for returning to your own country before booking. And then also check the test prices. Don't worry if you can't get your hands on an authorized home COVID test kit to take with you because you may not need it. Email your hotel or hostel in advance to see if they can arrange testing for you or where the nearest testing center is and the cost. My Madrid hotel arranged my COVID testing for entry to Portugal, all for the same cost as an authorized home test kit. So you never know if your hotel in Greece may do the same. It doesn't hurt to ask. Well, that's it. Those are my top 7 tips on how to do pandemic travel planning for Greece. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to check out all the helpful links I provided below for further insights to get the most out of your upcoming solo trip to Greece. And if you like this video and want more, make sure you stick around and click the subscribe button and the little bell to get updates on when the next videos are coming out. And feel free to share with others. I hope you have as much fun in Greece this year as I did last year. Addio!